We are recording now. So thank you for coming. I'm excited for our conversation. So obviously most of the people watching this are going to know who I am. But Becky, would you like to introduce yourself?
Of course. My name is Becky. I am a drama and movement therapist. And I have also got experience. Before I trained as a therapist, I used to work in adult acute psychiatric wards. I've done some community work. I used to work with students that had been kicked out of school, waiting to kind of get back into a bridge the gap in education. So kind of lots of mental health work over the years before I trained, and now obviously I work as a therapist, creative therapist.
Amazing, thank you. So my first question for you is not at all therapy related, but this is my favorite question to ask people. It's more of a food related question. So all of the foods in the world are at risk of being eradicated, but you have no way of telling which ones. But I'm giving you the opportunity to save 5. Which 5 would you save?
Oh no. Am I saving? Can I save foods?
So like, they have to be like,
for example,
they have to be like ingredient form. So like you don't have to have flour if you want bread, but you could have bread, but you can't be like a roast dinner. Like you can't say that. That's a lot of food.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Well, I would see, the thing is, my immediate thought was potatoes, because I like chips and I like crisps, and sometimes I like vodka. So
there you go. You can say potatoes.
Potatoes are important, but then I was like, but you need other things to make those things. But I'm still going to go with potatoes being one. Yeah. Hang on, I really need to think about this.
I know, it's a tough question, isn't it? It's very telling.
Oh gosh, is it?
Yeah, it is. Like the first food I would ever say in answer to this question is chocolate. I just can't imagine a world where chocolate doesn't exist.
Yeah, chocolate is definitely on my list.
Yeah,
chocolate will be my second one, I think.
Potatoes and potatoes. Great, we're off to a good start.
I think I would save garlic.
Okay, good one.
Because
garlicky potatoes.
I would. Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to give myself variety. I know exactly what I'm doing. That my inner Libra is like, we need balance here. We need all kinds of different things. I like grapes. Okay. I like grapes. I'm like, right, let me save a fruit so that I don't get scurvy.
Yeah. So we've got potatoes, chocolate, garlic, and grapes. You've got one food left that you can save.
Oh, this sounds like a horrible meal. Cheese.
Cheese. Okay.
Any
good
cheese.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Potatoes, chocolate, garlic, grapes, and cheese. I mean, you've got a nice cheese board vibe going on there.
Maybe that's what I want, actually. Maybe that would be
some sort of like raclette fondue vibes as well, with the potato and the garlic. So I mean, it sounds like you'd be very happy in Switzerland. It really does. Maybe that's where you should go next. Okay, great. Thanks for those choices. So the first kind of thing that I think would be really helpful, I mean, for me as well, I mean, I've worked with you, but I feel like this is still a question for me. But like, what actually is kind of drama therapy, and how does it differ, or what does it offer that other types of therapy don't?
Good question. Because, well, what I will say first off is that I think that drama therapy has the worst name, because people hear drama and therapy together and are like, no, I don't want to do that. You know, they've got immediate like GCSE drama flashbacks we've triggered everyone, no one wants to come, but it's really not as scary or as bad as it sounds. We're all kind of, you know, drama and movement therapy is kind of what it says on the tin, but you use different tools like role, story, gosh, what do I do? Movement, all of these things to support the therapeutic process. So where we might, if I was with a client and they might be finding it difficult to access some feelings or talking about something, especially people that have, you know, really been traumatized and find things really difficult to talk about, it gives them another option and a kind of, we call it aesthetic distance. So it gives them aesthetic distance from the thing that is difficult to explain or painful to think about. So sometimes you might want to relate to an experience you've had through a character, through a story, and that gives that you're still exploring it, and but it offers you another way of being able to do that.
Yeah. Amazing.
And then movement as well, it's not, I mean, sometimes it is just like wild dancing, but sometimes movement can be really small as well. It's not so scary, it can be as big. It's client led, so it's really what the client needs and what they bring and what they're comfortable with, and, you know, uncomfortable sometimes too, but hopefully in a space that feels safe enough that you can be a bit uncomfortable and know that that's okay.
Okay, great. And what type of either, I don't know, trauma or client experience is drama therapy most helpful for? Like, what if that someone's gone through, who would benefit from it, essentially, is my question.
I think, I mean, I've worked with so many different client groups, and I think that I think anyone can benefit from therapy. I think that anyone can benefit from drama and movement therapy. You know, you can be the shyest person and still find that it's a different language. It's just that using creativity to explore things. So you don't have to be, you know, I think a lot of the time people have this perception that you'd have to be like this really outgoing and like dramatic person or have this real kind of interest in the arts. That's not the case at all. You can be really shy and quiet, or you could be that outgoing person and still benefit. And you could have experienced, you know, I've worked with people who have schizophrenia, people with eating disorders, older adults, really small children, looked after children. It really doesn't, I think that's why I love it so much, that it's not limited to being beneficial to one client group. It really is kind of suited to anyone that wants to have a different way of looking at these things.
Yeah. And what
has that
made
answered your question?
Yeah, no, it has. What made you go into, because there's, I mean, forgive my ignorance here, but there's lots of different types of therapy, isn't there?
Yeah.
And what made you choose drama and movement therapy particularly?
Oh, this is going to be super cheesy because I don't feel like I chose it. I feel like it chose me. I
always say the same thing, so I get that.
Oh, great. Yeah, because well, then you understand. I wasn't, it pairs together things that I'm really passionate about. Like, I love theatre and the arts, and I went to drama lessons when I was younger and I was really shy. And it gave me a way to kind of, I think I experienced it first, not through drama therapy, but just through how much healing there was in creativity anyway, when I was really little. And then I went and did a degree, and I studied drama, and I thought I would go into teaching or something, but I didn't, because I wanted to work in mental health. And then I started working with the students that had that were to bridge the gap in education, waiting for placements at Prus and things like that. And I was tutoring them, but we ended up doing loads and loads of kind of just talking, playing games. So after that, I went and worked in psychiatric wards as activities coordinator, where you support people playing games and doing kind of different like well-being groups that you don't, but I felt like I wanted to be a therapist and I wanted to do more, but obviously I didn't have the skills and I hadn't trained. So I ended up then finding, or I worked with a drama therapist who was like, what are you doing, why are you not doing this? And I was like, oh, I don't know. So then I applied, not thinking I would get onto the training, because there's not that many places that do drama and movement therapy. And then I got on and was like, oh, I have to do this now.
Oh, this worked.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think, I don't know if this is me assuming things for the people as well, but I know that my personal perception of what therapy always kind of has been historically, I have a bit more experience and understanding of it now because of the type of work that I do and working alongside therapy practitioners and things like that. But I think up until very recently, my perception of therapy was you go and you sit in a room with somebody who has like a notepad and you just like talk about your feelings. And for like, I find the idea of that quite overwhelming and quite intimidating, which I think a lot of people do as well, which is potentially why a lot of people can be less inclined to engage in therapy and things like that. And now my whole perception of it and everything has totally changed in recent years. And I think everybody should go to therapy. Everybody's got stuff that they can benefit from talking about and just uncovering, even if you think you don't. There's so much that can be useful for. But obviously, my initial thoughts of, you just sit in a room and talk kind of at someone or whatever. There is therapy that can be like that, but there's lots of other types. And how would drama and movement kind of differ to that? Like, what could happen in a session with you, hypothetically?
Oh God, anything could happen. No,
that makes it sound even scarier.
I know, sorry about that. God, I'm doing myself no favors here. No, but the thing is, because it's client led, if a client came and they just wanted to sit and blah, 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 get it all out and talk, that is something that, I mean, I think it would really depend. I'm sorry, I'm such a diplomat, because I think that I'm so in whatever the person's bringing, so it's hard for me to imagine, because I would just see how it felt at the time. Like, if it felt that was what they needed and it was safe, then of course they can just come and talk at me, and then I might reflect and say, gosh, I wonder, you've talked, I feel like you kind of talked at me, like, I wonder, it feels like there's a lot that you need to get off your chest, and then kind of start working that way, I think. But sometimes I've worked with people that don't want to talk at all, so you would play games, or offer something else, or offer like the medium of a story or something else, a drawing, just different things. It's really hard to say exactly what it might look like, but I'll try and answer. Oh, are you okay?
Sorry, I'm overcoming the bug from hell, apparently.
Oh, I know, it's been super gross. Not that you sound gross, I just was
Thanks.
like, is she okay?
I
just want to make sure you're okay.
That's your helper coming through.
But yeah, I think that in the session it will be really important that you have a good, I think, let me put my teeth back in. I think that any person that goes to see a therapist, they need to be able to feel that they can be honest with their therapist, because if I'm doing something that makes someone feel uncomfortable, I mean, yeah, we need to look at why that's uncomfortable, or maybe we need to build the therapeutic relationship more. It is something that makes you feel vulnerable. I see a therapist, so I have to, you've got to walk the walk if you're going to talk the talk. So I understand that it can make you feel vulnerable, and as you say, everyone's always got stuff, there's always stuff to unpack, and the way that I see being a therapist and also seeing a therapist is having someone that's in your corner, that's on your side, that is walking, they're not doing it for you, but they're with you, they are your cheerleader, being like, yeah, okay, like, you've got this. And being able to reflect some of the things is really helpful, because sometimes, I was actually talking about this yesterday with a friend of mine who's been feeling really anxious, and I said about going back and seeing a therapist because she used to see one, and I said, well, sometimes it's just having a therapist that can, even though you might know what you're feeling anxious about, it's having kind of two people then to stand up to your anxiety rather than just you on your own. So that's the way that I see it. And in terms of how a session would play out, I think it would just depend on what was needed and the therapeutic relationship and what kind of felt appropriate.
No, I think that's a really nice and good way of putting it, of having like two people to like fight your corner, rather than just you, because it can feel quite difficult when you feel like you've got to do everything on your own. And yeah, no, I totally get it. Like I see a therapist as well, and I think it really annoys me the way that I met you, because I want you to be my therapist, and obviously you can't because we are like professional and friends. So it's, yeah, I've said to one of our other friends that I wish I could go back in time and unmeet you so that you could be my therapist, because I think you're great.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice.
So something that comes up a lot with my clients and in the work that I do, and that I've had a few questions around, is the topic of body image, which is obviously such a difficult topic to talk about because it's so individual and there's so many things going on that influence it. But I guess in regard to specific tools, or even more generally, like how can therapy be a positive thing to use for somebody who's potentially struggling with body image?
Oh, well, I have, as you say, it's a massive topic, and I have so many thoughts and feelings and opinions on it myself. But I think that therapy could be a great tool for it, because body image isn't about your body. It is about how you feel about your body. So if you begin to heal the relationship with yourself, it has an impact on your body image. And that's not, I think that can be really frustrating to hear, because we all want to feel better and we want things to be a quick fix, but also, if being the ideal of how you wanted to look really really made people feel better, then there would be so many people that wouldn't have problems, but they do. But I think that particularly in the work that we've done before with working with eating disorders, there's always going to be another thing. So once you reach that marker for in terms of body image, it will be something else that needs to change. It just morphs, it shapeshifts all the time. It's an unattainable goal. So I think that it can be really helpful to have therapy to work with body image too, because it really isn't about your body.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think the first thing that you said, that body image isn't anything to do with your body, it's how to do with how you feel about your body. Any of my clients who will have heard, they're going to think that I told you to say that, because I say that all the time. So I did not tell Becky to say that. And hopefully hearing these things from lots of different people can sometimes be exactly what we need to understand things. And it is, body image it's such a difficult one because it's so all consuming for people. And I think the real kicker is, I think, understanding that you can struggle with body image at literally in any type of image, even the kind of thin ideal, people struggle with their body image, which just goes to show that it has absolutely nothing to do with bodies and how they look. And it is all of the internal work, which is really difficult to do. But it's why it's so important. And this also links into something that I'd love to kind of hear your opinions on and everything around it's such a big topic, but like just kind of diet culture and the diet industry and all that kind of stuff. Like what have you seen from your experience? Because I obviously only have experience of this from the nutrition side of things, and supporting with people through their food relationships and that kind of stuff. But what is your kind of views on this? And I guess this is such a broad question, but from a psychological perspective, what are your kind of thoughts and opinions? I love opinions here. thoughts and opinions on kind of diet culture and the diet industry and the impact that has on the way that we live our lives?
I think the first thing that I think about is that it is an industry. So, it's a business. If you're not, if people aren't wanting to change or to buy into it, then they're not going to succeed. So it is an industry that benefits from people's lack of confidence, from not feeling, good about themselves. There's that quote, isn't there, about like loving yourself as a radical act or something, an act of rebellion. And I think that can be so true, because there are so many things that are set up to benefit from vulnerable people or people's vulnerabilities and people's insecurities. So that's kind of the first. I kind of like to think about people almost starting their own like little mini revolution when they love themselves, or they don't buy into the dieting, or whatever it is that they're kind of doing that is stopping them from being more accepting of themselves. Like, I like to be like, woo, like rebel, because it's such a kicker, because it's so huge in our in the UK, obviously in America, like it's such a it's so unavoidable, actually, like listening to people in talking about diets, and it's so hard for people to recover in a society that is so obsessed with doing the opposite to what they need to do. And I think that, like, I really admire people that, like, the clients that we've worked with, I have such great respect, because it's so hard, and I want to acknowledge that it is really difficult, but it is also going to be so worth it. And I think that the reason I think I'm giving you all opinions at the moment, but
that's great.
I think that psychologically, okay, because I think it's just tricky to kind of generalize, because it is such a broad topic. But what I really think is that, just like body image has nothing to do with how you look, the diet culture really benefits from our insecurities. So if you've got any kind of, we all have insecurities, we all feel a bit crap sometimes about the way that we look, but it's so easy for us to pick an appearance, because we feel like that's the thing that you could change, that could be the quick fix. Because family cultures and relationships, sometimes we can't change those, we can't control other people, we can't control a lot of things, especially with COVID and everything that's been happening recently. There's a lot that we can't control. So I think that it's such a tricky little thing, because diet culture is something that gives you this illusion that if you control this and if you change this, you will feel better and you will get this life that you want. So that if this really was something that would work.
I think I lost you for a second there. I think you're back.
Oh no, am I back?
No, it's fine. Yeah, you are. I think I heard everything that you said, and I totally agree. I think, with literally everything that you just said. It's just a big con, isn't it? It's just a big money earning con, and it is a rebellion. I think sometimes people have this kind of like switch, like this aha moment, where they're like, oh my god, like I can just choose to not do this, and I can not care about all of this stuff, and my life gets so much easier. And it's a beautiful moment to watch. It really is. It's a good one. And I think that, so this question is a little bit more broader, I guess, across the whole kind of mental health spectrum. And again, it's probably gonna have your opinions and stuff in it, but I think it's really useful. But what would you say the positives and negatives, if any either way, are of social media on mental health?
Oh yeah, that's a biggie, isn't it? It's tough. I think, let me start. Let me just get my inner Libra out again and say that I really believe in balance.
Okay,
I think
love
that
star
balance is so important.
Are you still there?
So, oh, sorry, I think we lost each other. Are we back?
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah, so my inner Libra, balance is key. I think that too much of anything is not good, and too little of anything is not good. So I think that really applies to social media. I think that the positives can be the community that it can offer, you know, the fact that we have so much information that we are like, that is so accessible. That can also be a negative, because that can feel a bit overwhelming, or you could get the wrong information. I think that part of the negatives to social media are that perhaps the pressure that it adds, and this, I know that we've talked about before, is kind of like these, you know, body positivity movement being co-opted by people that it's not, you know, it then actually adds to it fuels the fire. It doesn't make people feel better. They think, well, you look perfect in both those pictures, so this is not making me feel any better. But that's you know, I think that body neutrality is a great thing, that you don't have to have an opinion on your body. You know, you're not there to look great. I
just agree with you
speaking your language? Yeah, you don't, you know, I think there's a book, Women Don't Owe You Pretty, and it's like, thank God as well, because sometimes I love potatoes, as we all know now. Sometimes I also want to look like a potato and just be left alone to do that. You know, let me be ugly in peace. And it's not ugly, it's just not this perfect, you know, this picture perfect thing that is created for a screen. So I think that social media can have it can have a negative impact on body image, because it's an unrealistic and unreal as well. Like, it's not real, this image that is created. So I think that's a really big negative. And I think also the importance, or stressing the importance of setting boundaries. You're not there to be accessible all the time. And I see this more with like young, you know, like teenagers. But if you get a text message, you're not obligated to reply immediately. You don't owe anyone that. You don't need to constantly be accessible just because you can be. That's not good for your brain. That's not healthy. That's not, you know, that's also not real. That's not realistic. You're not. So I think having time that you don't go on social media, or you set boundaries with yourself and with other people, and you can decide how you interact with it, and how you, I think having power over it is the thing that can make it a positive. When you're powerless to it, or you're kind of not feeling in control, that's when it can be more negative.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Unsurprisingly, I had to turn my blue ticks off WhatsApp for that reason, because I don't think I should be accessible all the time. And I was getting in trouble because I was like reading something and then not replying instantly. So I turned them off years ago, and I was like, I forgot they existed until I got a new phone the other day, and they automatically came back on, and I was like, what? I had to turn them off again. But yeah, I totally agree. And that the book, Women Don't Owe You Pretty. So if anyone wants to read it, it's by Florence Given. And I've read it too. I think it's so good. And I didn't actually realize how much diet culture is kind of just driven by the patriarchy. And like now I'm like, how naive of me. Like, how did I not realize this? But obviously until it's kind of laid out in front of you, then you don't really think about it. And like, even like down to TV ads and stuff like that, like there's always, like, when someone's advertising a car, there'll be like a woman in her underwear sat on the car, because it pulls on the idea of like ownership. And I'm just like, my mind was just like blown all of these times throughout reading this book, of all these things that I think I'd obviously become aware of on kind of a certain level. Oh, my voice sounds really robotic in my ears. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay. It got out of sync for a sec, but I'm with you.
Yeah, like all of these things that you are aware of, but you don't question. Like, you're like, oh yeah, there's a woman in her underwear and a pair of heels sat on the front of a car, like, of course. And then you're actually like, hang on, what? Why is that what we're using here? And the body positivity movement thing that you mentioned as well, like, again, I'm so in agreement on you on this. Body neutrality is the thing that I would say I focus on the most and try to talk to people about, because I don't think it's realistic or actually healthy. And again, this is an opinion, but I don't think it's that healthy to have this idea of being in love with our bodies every single day, because there are going to be times where we wake up and we're like, oh, I don't feel that great about myself today. But the importance is not letting that influence how we treat our bodies. Because we need to respect them, and you can respect something without thinking that it's the most incredible, beautiful thing in the world. You know, I think body neutrality is about being like, okay, yeah, I love my body. I don't think my body's better than anybody else's, but I love it and respect it, and I appreciate it for what it is. And that's really how we can actually develop a healthy relationship with ourselves. And I remember when that movement got like hijacked, and it became like just a stream of this. And I think what's difficult is I do believe that people are always acting from what they think is a beneficial place. So that it's like when people are being unintentionally unhelpful. And so I think there was so many people that came out and did these like side-by-side photos, like, you know, this is like whatever it was, this is pretty and this is also pretty, or this is worthy and this is also worthy. And I'm like, it's just highlighting how much you can make your body look like the thin ideal. And there are so many people that exist that can't do that. And the point is that they're still worthy. Like, that's what we need to be focusing on. And it was interesting watching it kind of play out. And I think there are a lot of people that still don't understand that difference in how those things are meant to be playing. And that people are doing it with like cellulite and stuff now, like, you know, and I think it's great, like posting pictures of cellulite and stretch marks and like all of this stuff that usually gets airbrushed out. But I think the real power is, rather than being like, look, here's my cellulite, is actually just posting a picture where you can see and not mentioning it. Because that's how we normalize things, is we stop being like, this is normal, and we just let it be normal. Like, I'd never post a picture and be like, oh my god, look, I have a nose, because it's normal that I have a nose. So if I just post a picture where you can like see the cellulite on my legs or on my tummy or whatever it is, and I posted some holiday pictures like last year when I went on holiday to Cornwall, and you could see, because of like, I was on a paddle board, I was kneeling on it, and because of like the light and stuff, you could see the cellulite on my legs, and I just posted it, and no one said anything. And I know that's not the case for everybody, like lots of people get very targeted on the internet and things, but I was like, I could highlight it, I could be like, oh look, you can see it, but I actually think it's more powerful to not, and just let it be normal, so we can just post pictures with things in and not have to worry about it.
So, I agree. I definitely agree. And I think also you said something that made me think about the comparison that social media brings to us, that actually, you know, it, as you said, it was co-opted, but we need to get to a place that that's okay as well. Like, that other people are posting things, and, you know, I'm thinking about like the word trigger and like triggered, and that actually perhaps you are triggered, but then that's part of the therapy work, to be able to respond and take responsibility for the fact that you've been triggered by someone else, but then you are the one that gets to do the work about that. And that will be hard, and that's why you need someone in your corner. You know, it's not to say that you're wrong to be triggered, and it's not to say that you can't have feelings and be upset about that, but to be able to look at a trigger is kind of, the way that I see it, is kind of like a little it's
a
like
pain point.
But it's like, hey, like there's some work over it. It's a clue. It's like, this is where you've got some work to do, because, you know, and it's painful, and that's really hard. You know, I have triggers, you have to, we all do. There will always be things that that hook into us and that tug, and that's where we need to give our attention and know. And that's the stuff that's really scary, that people are like, I don't want to tell my therapist this. And I
Yeah.
understand, because I feel the same way, but that's why I need to do it. You've got to lean into it and say, this happened earlier this week, and I know that I need to tell you because it really upset me, and I then did X, Y, and Z to try and stop that pain, when really what I could do is look at that and take responsibility for it, because you are the only person that has power over it. We need to stop giving our power away all the time.
Yes, totally. I like, yeah, again, I completely agree. And like, I think the triggering thing, triggers becoming a new kind of like buzzword, and that's not to detract of what it is representing. Like, obviously it's an important thing, but it is now becoming like a oh, that triggered me, or like you get trigger warnings like all over the place now, which are helpful, especially when people are still going through the place where they're doing the work and it is still triggering. I think it's really important, but I don't think it's enough to just be like, that's a trigger, so I'm going to avoid every single thing around that. And that might, some people might think that's a really ignorant thing to say, some people might be triggered by me saying that, but I think exactly as you said, it's, if you're triggered by something, it's because there's something triggering you, there's something that needs to be looked at. And you don't want to live a life where you just have to avoid all of the things that trigger you. You don't want to create this bubble, because at some point that bubble's going to get popped, and it's so much harder to deal with when you haven't done that work.
Absolutely.
And, I remember, so I think it was like my first or second day ever working with eating disorders, and Keisha Thomas, who used to work at the clinic with us, she said, I remember having a conversation with her. So she's worked with eating disorders for years, she still does, and I was like, I'm really scared about triggering people. Like, what if I accidentally say something and I trigger someone? And she said to me, this will stay with me forever, she was like, you are going to trigger them. She was like, it will happen. She was like, you won't even know that you've done it, but that's not on you. Obviously, if you try to intentionally trigger someone, that's a bad thing, and you should avoid doing that.
Don't do that.
Yeah, that's not okay. But you will trigger somebody, because that's where the work is. And sometimes it's good because it shows us where the work is. And if we took someone, I know eating disorders are just one example of this, but if you took someone through recovery just avoiding all of their triggers, you've not helped them, because they're going to come out the other end and then, spend one day in life and be like, I can't cope. So we need to be identifying these things in ourselves, without it leading to this whole like cancel culture that is becoming a new thing now. And we need to allow people the ability to learn and talk about why they were triggered by something, and listen to that, and use changing our language, and just kind of working together, rather than this whole like, I've been triggered so I'm leaving, or like, you've triggered me so I'm never going to talk to you again. Like, let's actually all start communicating what we need a little bit better.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think that also on that, like, that's just made me think about in working in groups, because obviously I ran a lot of the group. I work as a therapist, I do one-to-one, and I also do groups, and that has been some of the times as well where someone said, oh, that I don't want to share this because I'm worried that I will trigger someone. And I'm like, no, this is exactly the place that you can, as you said, not to be intentionally upsetting people, but if you're going to say something, you shouldn't have to censor yourself. We all need to be able to take responsibility for what we say, and think about how we share it. But if you're going to censor yourself, then that's part of the work too. If someone else gets triggered, let's make this a safe enough environment that we can manage both the person that needs to explore what they're bringing, and the person that's been triggered by it, because there's work to do. And it doesn't, as you said, it doesn't mean that they need to be cancelled, or that people need to feel that they have to run away, or that they're a bad person. Just like you had that worry, oh, I don't want to say something that's going to trigger someone. Of course, like, we're not here to be malicious, but equally, as you say, we're not doing anyone any favors if they never get to do the work.
Yeah, so good. I love this topic. I could probably talk about diet culture all day. I mean, I do. That's literally my job, is to talk about diet culture all day.
You've really set that up for yourself. You're like, this is what I'd like to talk about all day.
Yeah, basically. So I have a couple of like more logistical questions as well when it kind of comes to therapy and the process. So one question that I think I've had in the past, but has also been said to me a few times, is what's the difference between a psychotherapist and a psychologist, and like a counselor? There's so many terms.
Yeah, there are so many different things. I think it's mostly to do with the training. I have friends that are psychologists, friends that are psychotherapists, like myself, and then friends that are yeah, as you said, like there's all different kinds of therapists, integrative and humanistic, and different counselors. And I think that the big difference is the training, and also of course, like we're all different. So I am a drama and movement therapist, but you could meet 7 other drama and movement therapists and have a completely different therapeutic relationship with them, because they are not me, and we will, and
No
we
one
would
is you,
whatever.
Becky. No one else is you.
That could be such a compliment or not, and I'm going to take it as a compliment.
It's
So
definitely a compliment.
Thank you so much. And no one else is you either. And but that's what I mean, like, you know, obviously you have your own relationship with your clients that you work with that only you guys could have. So I think that when people are looking for if they're looking for a therapist, you're looking for someone that you want to work with, you know, of course you need to make sure that people are accredited, you know, make sure that their training is like legit, because of course you're going to be paying for their services. But I think also make sure that you get on well with them, you know, don't be afraid to kind of shop around, see how you feel. That's not to say just turn up and be like, no, I don't like, you know. I think sometimes when things feel scary, it's really easy to make ourselves not do something, because you can be like, oh no, I didn't get on with them. But just you'll know, like, if you get a good feeling, if you know, I've had a couple of therapists and some I've really got on with, and I feel like they get me, and that's what I think that I look for in a therapist, to feel seen and heard and understood. So I think that would be my advice for anyone looking.
And so it's kind of a case of, you don't just have to go with the first person that you meet, and if you didn't enjoy your first experience, it might just be that wasn't the right person, and actually just trying somebody else.
Yeah, totally. And I think also, depending on, you know, I know that lots of people know about CBT, you know, some people don't get on well with CBT, some people love CBT. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with CBT, it just means that it depends on what you might need at that time. You know, I've had other different types of therapy in the past, and I know that there are some that I prefer, you know, personally, that I think work better for me, or that I find more effective, or I'm more comfortable with, than other types. And I think that will just be the same for everyone.
Great. And what's the best way to like find a therapist to work with if you've never worked with someone before and don't know where to look? Where's the kind of, how would you start?
I think it depends on your financial situation, because obviously therapy also can be expensive. You know, if you're going to see a therapist privately, then you need to know kind of what is your budget, how much can you afford. And then Psychology Today, if you go on Psychology Today, there is, and type in your postcode, there's a whole list of therapists that will be in that area. Obviously you have you know, people that you could refer to, so talking to another trusted professional could help you. That's her, that's you. That could be a way. And you know, if you think that if your finances are not such that you could afford it privately, then going through your GP or looking at local charities are other ways that you could find a therapist too.
Yeah, great. And speaking of local charities, you have a little baby of Give Space. Do you want to talk about that?
Give Space, yes, it's my community interest company. So that's kind of not quite a charity, it's like a little, you know, it does what it says on the tin, community interest company. If it benefits the community, then that's kind of what it needs to qualify as that. And yeah, we offer drama and movement psychotherapy, and we offer wellbeing workshops too, which are kind of more psychoeducational. They're not going to go as deep as you would in therapy, but they can kind of be more of a I don't know, still experiential, still working creatively, but kind of doing things that are more about kind of tools in your toolkit. I think you said that earlier, tools in your toolkit, and that's kind of what we see the wellbeing workshop as well. yeah, it's give space. And actually that's, I guess that's also what I think about when I think about therapy, is a space for you that is yours alone, that you don't need to worry about other people, or you can bring whatever you want. It is literally your space. And that's where we came up with the name, because we were like, so often all we need is a space to feel safe, to feel supported, to look at things that feel difficult. And that's where the work, and like that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, no, you're so right. It's about giving yourself space, I think, mental space, but also physical space, and just allowing yourself to kind of breathe a bit. And if you want to read any of Becci's inspirational posts that she puts on Instagram, you can follow Give Space. It's at Give Space CIC, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not very social media-y, so I'm like, that sounds right.
I love all of your little when you share the ones that are like the boy, the horse, and the mole.
Oh,
I love those ones that you share.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so she's a good one to follow if you feel you need a little bit of calm in your social media feed. I'm always a good advocate of having a purge every now and then, and getting rid of what doesn't serve you and adding in some stuff that does. So maybe if you follow Give Space CIC, and yeah, get a little space in your timeline. That's how you should promote your Instagram. I think that's a good tagline.
Thank you so much.
So that's where you can find Becci on social media if anyone wants to give her a follow. But I've got through all of the questions that I had. Is there anything else that you want to share or talk about, or you think would be useful for people to know or be aware of?
I was just going to say, see if I could find something quickly, or stuff I need to say, but no. I think that just thank you for talking to me, and I just really value you and the work that you do as well. And it's so exciting that we get to have these conversations and start mini revolutions
absolutely
against the patriarchy.
All of the revolutions against the patriarchy. No, thanks for giving me your time to come on today. I think this will hopefully be helpful to anyone that watches it, whether it's just to also join in on our thoughts around diet culture, or get a bit more of an idea of different types of therapy, and maybe give drama therapy a try if anyone has been unhappy in their own, or they don't know where to start, or they want something that just feels a bit more freeing. Then yeah, I think it's been a really helpful chat. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you.